We can imagine, we don't know, but we can imagine why Jesus wanted to get away once he heard of the death, the execution, the beheading of his cousin, mentor, and friend, John the Baptist. Such an event would shock us and make us want to withdraw, as we can only assume. Matthew doesn't tell us. He just tells us that Jesus wanted to be by himself and went out on the boat by himself. When he gets there and the crowd is already, the Sea of Galilee is not that big. You can tell where they're sailing on the boat. And so they find him. There he is. And when he gets off and he looks at the crowd, in English it says his heart was moved with pity for them. But in Greek it's a word for like a gut-wrenching pity. Much deeper than, oh, I feel sorry for you, wish you well. Hope it works out. That kind of. But much, much deeper. It's like I was watching the news a couple nights ago, and there was a picture on the national news of a woman with blood running down her face, carrying a baby and running away from something in Gaza. It was gut-wrenching to see the picture. You say, why is this? Why is this? All this destruction. It's like. Was that kind of thing, something you feel deeper than just, oh, what a shame. So it's that. So he looks at the crowd, forgets himself, and he sees them, and he's like, reaches out immediately. It says he cures the sick. And then later on, as you heard, when it gets late, the disciples say, Lord, it's time for them to leave. So they can go to Flint Hill and get some food, or to Sperryville, or wherever they go. Warrington or something. And but he says to them, you give them food yourselves. Well, their reaction's like ours. 5 loaves, 2 fish, 5,000 men, not counting the women and children. Get serious, Lord. How is this going to work out? So Jesus takes charge, and you heard. He blesses. The 4, in case we missed the point, all 4 evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, tell the story, and some of them tell it twice. So there are 6 accounts of the feeding of 5,000 or 4,000, depending on who's writing the story. So every one of the evangelists wanted us to hear this story, and some of them wanted us to hear it twice. In case we missed the point. And I think Matthew wanted us to hear what Jesus said to the disciples, because after all, he wasn't writing this for himself, right? He was writing this for the readers, the hearers, for you and me. You give them. He wanted us to hear what Jesus. You give them food. You give them, you give them some food yourselves. And he knew, just like in Jesus' day, that we would say, whoa, what is this? How can we end this? How can we feed enough people? How can we ever make enough peace to stop terrible things from happening? How is this happening? But all of the 4 evangelists wanted us to know that Jesus could do it, and Jesus could do it through us if we're willing. Now, in this case, obviously, it was Jesus who blessed them and broke them, and multiplied these fish, these loaves of bread. And all of the 4 evangelists want us to hear echoes of the Eucharist, right? They use the words that every Christian hears every Sunday, right? He looked to heaven, he blessed, he broke, he gave. The words that we use in our Eucharistic prayers, no matter which one we're using. Whether it was there when he fed the 5,000, they all put it there. And you remember that John doesn't even have at the Last Supper the Eucharist, so to speak. He has the washing of the feet. Because he's dealt with it. He's dealt with the Eucharist in chapter 6, where he beats it home. You must eat the bread, the blood of Christ, and drink the blood. All of them see. So they all saw that the natural fruitfulness of receiving the Lord was to then bear fruit, then to reach out. And the early Christian community, by all accounts, was successful. In other words, those who had more resources, sold what they have to meet those who didn't. And they reached out. That was a testimony, even in the persecutions for the first 300 years of Christians. Nobody said they were selfish, and nobody said they were. In other words, the real presence received by us in the Eucharist, the body and blood of Christ, bore fruit in us, in the disciples, in reaching out. And this, I think, is why the evangelists nailed this home 6 times for us. They want us to hear that, yes, God can multiply in our hands, if we're willing. You know, it is true that you might have 5 loaves and you have 2 fish. And what is that? You couldn't even feed this group with that. But with God working in us, it can be accomplished. It can work. Not just enough, but 12 wicker baskets full left over. More than enough. You know, I have a homily service. We have all these priests have cheat sheets and stuff. And there's a quote from Mother Teresa of Calcutta. You remember Mother Teresa, her marvelous work and the work of the missionaries of charity. But you know, when she was working years ago, everybody said, "Oh, she's doing a wonderful job." But then there were some that said, "Yeah, but she's not addressing the structural problems that cause them." And I guess she wasn't. Why isn't she picketing Parliament in India or something besides feeding them? Listen to this quote. Mother Teresa tried to impress upon her sisters the importance of following Jesus' lead, tending to the physical hungers first, and then the spiritual needs of the poor. So this is her quote to her sisters. Charity begins today. Today, somebody is suffering. Today, somebody is in the street. Today, someone is hungry. Our work is for today. Yesterday has gone. Tomorrow has not yet come. We have only today to make Jesus known, loved, served, fed, clothed, sheltered. Do not wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow, we will not have them if we do not feed them today. Today, August 3rd, this afternoon, what could we do? There might be something. We receive the Eucharist, we receive the body and blood of Christ. It becomes a part of our body and blood. And what can we do? I think we can, with the grace. The early Christian community did. These disciples who seemed at loss could do it in the end, by the grace of God, of course. There's another quote also, but this is a different Teresa. Teresa of Avila. Teresa of Avila lived in the 16th century, was a doctor of the church and a great spiritual leader, in reforming the Carmelites. But this quote was found in her handwriting in her prayer book. They don't know whether she wrote it or just copied it, but like you and I have lots of things in my prayer book, as you do too, that you like to read and write. So this was what she had after she died, written in her own handwriting. Christ has no body now on earth but yours, no hands but yours, no feet but yours. Yours are the eyes through which God's compassion is to look out on the earth. Yours are the feet by which he is to go about doing good. And yours are the hands by which he is to bless us now. We can do it. When Jesus says, you give them something to eat, we can. By the grace of God. By the grace of God. So when we receive communion today, let's ask the Lord today, this afternoon, August 3rd, what we can do today, like Mother Teresa, right? Today, not yesterday, not tomorrow. What, maybe something. Maybe we go out to brunch with someone we can reconcile, or maybe we can write a letter, or maybe we can write a check, I don't know. But ask. See what God puts on your heart today.